Three things. First of all, thank you for yesterday. You gave me so many wonderful tools as far as what I want to do and create, as far as creating maybe a new way to look at compulsion. Just as you said, you don't have to sit here and you will get everything that you need, whether you're in the audience or not. And yesterday, I got everything that you offered through other people. It was unbelievable, and I thank you for that.
We'll offer one little clarification. You don't get everything you need. You get everything that you want, that you're in alignment with. When you need it, you're upstream and you don't let it in.
Okay. Thank you.
Wanting and believing is the recipe. Satisfied with where I am and eager for more. Perfect stance.
Okay. Well, I'm definitely satisfied with what I got yesterday, and I feel like a rocket of desire has been launched to create possibly a new 12-step.
Again, we want to give you something here, because we want you to understand that that rocket of desire that you were saying was launched yesterday, that didn't happen yesterday. That rocket of desire has been being launched and launched and launched, little mini rockets. Rocket, 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 rocket. You've been amassing that for a very long time. What happened yesterday is that you listened to us ramble long enough that you lost your resistance. And when you lost your resistance, you came into alignment with what's already over there. And that's why you're feeling this rush of movement. In other words, you're moving fast to the culmination of that thing that you want. Good for you.
Discussion. I feel that when I came into this physical existence, that my choice to come in a place that is considered to be African American, I feel like there have been some things that have been passed to me generationally that cause major problems in my life, things that I'm fighting against, things that I learned, things that I feel have made me weak. And as a teacher, I need to do my best to, reduce the amount of energy that the culture that I've grown up under has created.
That might be true, and we hear you, and we know that you believe that, and we would not argue with any of that. We would softly say everybody has some of that, but we acknowledge that you had more of that. But we really want you to hear us when we say that feeling that you were disadvantaged because of that is an upstream thought. And we don't want you to try to overcome that, because it's just more upstream. Feel the difference between saying, I was born into an environment where there were axes to grind, where people were pushing against me or us and we were pushing against them. Think about the difference between acknowledging that, even though it's real and even though it happened and even though it's documentable. Think about how it feels, and then try to find a softer statement that says something like, well, I was born where I was born, and I must have had a reason for coming forth, and people are always doing the best they know how to do, and it's logical that in this time we would have expanded awareness more than then. And while I wouldn't want to go back there, I don't want to call it wrong either. Can you feel the difference? How it diffuses the discomfort just by sort of letting it go rather than trying to take it by the horns and even understand it?
Yes. Now the tough stuff.
It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. You put your boat in where you put your boat in. And you know what? We just want to say to you, since all your stuff is downstream, and it's good stuff because you've been after it for a while, and since the stream is moving to it, it doesn't matter a whit where you put your boat in. In other words, we're as thrilled for you to put it in at despair or powerlessness as we are at appreciation, because the stream's moving and you're releasing resistance and you got to get what you want. So no worries, right?
Okay.
That was downstream.
Okay.
In other words, tough, but doable.
This is tough, but I know it's doable. Abuse, verbal, physical, is a part of my early existence. And I've been on a journey to release as best I could with the tools I had. Of course, coming in contact with Abraham has increased that release like 20-fold. So I appreciate you again for that. I'm just looking for your voice to reinforce my voice as to letting that pain of abuse go, because when I drive and I'm feeling well and things are going well, but maybe I look at a sign and a sign reminds me somehow of that powerlessness.
All right, good.
And I am in conflict as to whether to look at the sign or avoid the sign.
Well, you see, you've defined this in a very simple way for us to help you sort through. You're really going to like this. And you also provide for us a format to say some wonderful things that we want to say in general about creating. When you give your attention to something like that sign that you're talking about, or anything, it activates a vibration within you. And when the vibration is activated within you because of what you're focused upon, there's an immediate feeling, visceral, emotional response to it. In other words, when you think those thoughts, that memory of that past causes you to think, it conflicts with how the source within you sees yourself. Now, haven't you noticed this? We know you feel it in your own experience. Don't you find it interesting that somebody can have had abuse as a child, and now they're many years past that, but the pain of the abuse feels worse now than it even did back then? And you'd think that the feeling of pain would be more diluted as time goes by. So what makes it more? Oh, you're really going to like this. What makes it more is that the longer you've lived life, the more you have expanded who you are. The more you know what you don't want, the more you know what you do want. So there's this now, every year you live, everything that you remember, everything that you observe, everything that you live is causing this expanded version of you. So who you really are as source is more confident, more knowing of who you are, more in love with self, more in love with life. And then when something causes you to flash back to who you were, oh, what an incredible discord. Esther said one day she loved her parents. She loved them dearly, loves them dearly. They're both croaked, but happily so. But Esther discovered that when she would go home to visit them, that she felt less good the longer she was there. She said to Jerry, I now know what homesick is. It's when home makes you sick. And we explained to her that what's happened is over time, Esther has become someone who's vibrating over here. She's a different person than she was then. Everyone is evolving, but as Esther's coming into alignment with who she now is, when she goes home, things, smells, conversations were causing her to activate the vibration of who she used to be. And when the vibration of who she used to be is activated with her inner being over here loudly calling her to that, strong tug of war. And so life has caused you to be a being who is self-sufficient, a being who's tuned in, tapped in, turned on. And when you focus back upon those thoughts of abuse, you separate yourself so far from who you are, it is unbearable, you see. Nice to know. But now what? So, now we want to say to you, when you give your attention to something, no, it doesn't matter what it is, and you hold it there for a little while, whatever its vibration is now activated in you. And if you do that often, it becomes a dominant vibration, which is what a belief is. A belief is just a thought that you think often, and it's easily activated. Now, why is it easily activated? Because law of attraction is helping you out. If you feel that way, that's the thoughts you have access to, and since it's thoughts you have access to, you think those thoughts, and now you're thinking those thoughts, then you feel that way, and when you feel that way, it's the thoughts you have access to. So it's sort of like a cycle of thinking. So you offer a thought, the universe matches it. You offer a thought, the universe matches it. You observe what you've got, you offer a thought, the universe matches it. You observe what you got, you offer a thought. So don't be hard on yourself. It's normal. It's actually easier to think the thoughts that you've been thinking than it is to think the thoughts you want to think. You only have access to the thoughts that are sort of kind of really in close relationship to the thoughts you're thinking. What goes wrong with so many of you is that you have these moments of connection, and then you have these moments where you're having a flashback to strong separation, and then you say to yourself, I should be over here. I shouldn't feel like this. Should I look at the sign? Should I not look at the sign? What should I do? How can I get over here where I belong? And we want you to stop saying, I need to jump over here, because it's not possible. Instead say, I'm putting my boat in the river here. What thought could I think that would give me relief? Because if you don't, take the thought of abuse and reach for a thought of relief and leave it in a different place, then that bugger stays over there right where you last left it. And every time you have an experience that reminds you of that, it's going to trigger you and take you back there, and then you're going to feel the separation between who you are, and you can go on like that for a very long time. Where if you feel it and don't like it, and then do something about it by reaching for a thought that feels slightly better, we love to see someone feel powerless over something, and then find that breath of fresh air that revenge brings. Especially when they say consciously, I feel so much better, and the reason I feel better is because I deliberately chose a thought that made me feel better. In that moment, you've taken your power back. And in the moment you take your power back, you're not so upset about those abusers. Football players take abuse too, and they do it on purpose. It's not the physical abuse that is the scarring thing. It's the empowerment over you that made you feel that you didn't have power. And in the moment that you choose a thought that makes you feel better, you've taken your power back. And in the moment that you take some of your power back, and you know you did it deliberately, now you can reach for something that feels a little better, and now you can reach for something that feels a little better. And you're going to get so good at finding the relief and finding the relief that you won't cringe when you see something that triggers something. Instead, you'll say, oh, I remember that feeling, and I don't want it, and I'm glad that it has come out into the light where I can see it. And while I'm driving here, I think I'm going to do something about it.
Of the 22 emotional scales that you've laid out, the one I avoid the most is revenge. And I've heard it all weekend yesterday.
You know
as
why?
The one I avoid.
You know why? The reason you avoid it is because you, like almost everybody else, are not doing what you're doing to improve the way you feel. You're too humble and unworthy feeling to do that. You make every effort that you offer, almost everybody does, because of the response that you're going to get from somebody else. And other people don't like you in the revenge mode. They liked you better when you were depressed. You were a lot less trouble.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
You see, this happens to children all the time. This is the greatest abuse of all, we think. Because a child is in an environment, or anybody is in an environment where they don't feel free. And then their natural call of source pulls them into that revenge, rage, anger. And then the people around them say, don't go there. It's inappropriate that you go there. God says you shouldn't go there. I'm going to take you to anger management seminars. Don't go there. And so what happens is you feel powerless. You get to revenge. You bump up against them, demanding that they don't let you go further. And so then you're just powerless, angry, powerless, angry, powerless, angry, powerless, angry, powerless, angry. Oh, this is the most interesting thing about that. In all that powerless, anger, powerless, angry, powerless, angry, you're launching rockets, rockets, rockets. And that's what's making it worse. Every time somebody makes you feel powerless, or every time you feel powerless for whatever reason, you launch a stronger rocket, which makes your stream go faster. Isn't it interesting? The more abuse you take, the more you want well-being, but the more abuse you focus upon, the more you don't get to go with your well-being, and that is the epitome of abuse. Do you know that the only abuse that could ever be rendered is the abuse that is self-imposed by someone who doesn't let themselves be who they are? You have to, you like that, we like it too. In other words, that's the abuse. So what you want to say, you want to get a notebook and write somebody's name in it and say, what is it that I'm thinking about you that I'm using as my excuse to not let myself be who I am?